Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Communication Outages Town Hall presentation. It is Wednesday, April 9th. And I just wanted to say thank you all for attending this evening. We do have some attendees. We wanted to introduce ourselves before we get started, but before introductions, I just have a handful of housekeeping notes for those attending. First of all, I wanted you to know that we do have a closed captioning option. We're running transcripts on the screen, but you can also enable closed captioning on your individual Zoom. We do have chat disabled this evening, but that's because we have our Q&A option available. So for those folks who are interested in submitting questions, please do drop those into the Q&A. And the meeting is going to be recorded so that it can be available to watch later on. We'll make that available on the website and through social media. And if you submit a question through the Q&A, take a look at other folks' questions as well, so that you can, your question may have already been asked and you can just like somebody else's question and that will actually raise the priority of that question. The other thing I wanted to let you know is that the last slide in the presentation will have a couple QR codes and links for you to know how to leave more feedback or questions for the future, as well as sign up for Code Red. So I wanted to let you know that in advance. So let's start with some introductions and then we'll get started with our presentation. So first I want to start right here with James, and then we'll just go down the line.
So my name is James Allerid. I'm the Deputy Utility Manager with the Department of Public Utilities, and we are the group that is running the project. That's the topic of discussion today.
Great. I'm Jerry Smith, Broadband Manager for the county. Been here about 3 years and moving forward with initiatives and looking forward to visiting about that tonight.
Hi, Beverly Simpson, the Emergency Manager for Los Alamos County. I've been in this position for 10 years.
All right, great. Thank you all. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing our presentation. And I'll just work my way through, and please let me know if you need me to change a slide to my presenters here. And the Q&A portion will be following the presentation. So go ahead and drop those questions in. We may answer quite a few of them during the presentation, so you're also welcome to hang on to them until towards the end. But we will have a Q&A at the end. Oh, I have to convince it. Okay, there we go. There's our panelists. All right, so we're going to start with James here. So go ahead and kick us off.
Yes, so good evening. So I'm going to start out and describe the project that was the center of the two outages of the communication system. So it is a planned Department of Public Utilities capital improvement project to replace about 3.5 miles of a water line. The water line exists on the east shoulder of New Mexico 4, and we're basically replacing the line all the way from White Rock to the 502 and State Road 4 intersection. So the project crosses lands owned by the Pueblo San Ildefonso, as well as DOE and NNSA. And we do have the permission to have a water line in there by the rights of an easement. It's a 25-foot easement. State Road 4 does fall under the jurisdiction of the New Mexico Department of Transportation. So they have a big role in the administration of the project. And then we've got have a couple other partners in the project. Our funding comes from the New Mexico Water Trust Board, as well as a special appropriations from the state legislature. So a little more detail on the project, what we're doing in the scope of work. Like I mentioned, there's about 3.5 miles of 16-inch water line. So we have an existing water line that has been failing more frequently in recent years. So the need, we've been planning for a few years now, knowing that the need was coming. And we wanted to get the water line replaced before the Department of Transportation comes in and replaces the road. For obvious conflicts, it just complicates both projects. In addition to the water line, we partnered with the Pueblo San Ildefonso. They're taking advantage while we have an open trench. They're putting 2 conduits, our contractor, for their future fiber optic system. And they'll place the handholds, which are the access points as part of the project. So those 2 utilities are going in the ground with it. So we began the project early February. And the plan is to have everything wrapped up by about early June. And let's go to the next slide. So I'm going to give everybody a status report on the project. As of today, we're about 90% complete. But we are relieved to say that the trenching along the side of the fiber optic line owned by Lumen that was damaged, we are no longer trenching along. We've passed that phase of the project. So we are down to a brief description. There's 3 segments of the project. The longest is between the truck route and White Rock. All that pipe has been completed. Some of you may have seen the weekend work going on in Rover and State Road 4 within White Rock. And so trenching is done there. We're down to testing the pipeline, paving the road where we did have to cut it. And so that is the significant piece of the project. We have a segment 2 we're calling, gets us north of the truck route, almost to the intersection of State Road 502. That pipeline is also installed and we're just waiting to test it out. We have some additional work, which is a very small portion that's going to take place on DOE property that is going to be west of State Road 4. That work should be complete by about middle of next week. So we're glad to say we're about done with all the trenching and excavating on the project. All right, let's talk a little bit about what happened on March 11th and March 17th. So on March 11th, it was the contractor damaged the fiber optic. And at this point, on the 11th, it was located correctly and they had been working around it. They did get a small piece of equipment into it in the backfilling operation. So that was the event on the 11th. And then on the 17th, again, they were trenching, in the vicinity of the fiber optic, which was located. Turns out the locates weren't close to where the actual fiber optic line was. So as we trenched, that's when they got into it with their excavation equipment. So that was those were the cause and effects of the 2 occurrences and what happened. So a couple things to note. A lot of folks wonder, well, there is a lot of structure and rules to the game of excavating in the state of New Mexico. State law requires that every utility owner locate their utilities within 48 hours of an excavator calling. And they've got to be within 18 inches of the actual location. And that is how blame is assigned when you do have a damaged utility. If the locate was within 18 inches and it was hit by the excavator, which is the company doing the excavating, fault lies on that excavator. If it is not correctly located beyond 18 inches from the actual location, the fault lies with the utility owner. So, this is an important part of all utility operations for everyone. DPU ourselves, we own 4 utilities. So we do thousands of locate tickets a year. At this point, Lumen is the fiber optic owner. So they're one of the responsible parties. And then Wagner Construction, who is a contractor working for Department of Public Utilities, is the contractor. So these 2 entities carry all the responsibility in what took place. A lot of questions that been directed as the county. Well, why can't we do more or something? But we are not the responsible party as the owner or the group doing the excavating. There's a lot of liabilities and responsibilities in these locates. So it's real important that you don't represent yourself where you're not supposed to in these kind of incidents. Move to the next slide, please. Right, so there's a few particulars about the project. We received a lot of feedback, and these kind of hope will answer some questions that we've seen that people have wondered. So on after the second outage, it was very very intense. People were agitated, businesses were closed. And our management within the county, we communicated to Lumen and we demanded that they give us more support in the locates. This locate, in the moment, it was a mislocated utility. And the 11th brought out a lot of concern and a lot of people, really frustrated and irate about what happened. Well, on the 17th, it was significantly more. So we thought it was fair to ask, the importance of this many customers, and they're joint customers, and that's what we communicated to them. We demanded they give us some support by putting a full-time locator on the project. We did get some positive feedback via email. We never did see full-time support in the field, but I think, everyone's efforts, including the locating and our contractor especially. Our contractor was faced with, are we going to demobilize or do we keep working? There was, they were leery of working and this happening again. So they and us, the project management team, we agreed, let's slow the work down. Spend as much time as we need to doing physical locating, get eyes on that fiber before we trench if there's any doubt. So we, as a group, we made the conscious decision to slow down and do that. That was not the only sure way you can avoid hitting it. Is you want to spend the time and find it and look at it before you start coming in with the heavy excavation equipment. And so as a result, we did finish the project. We got through it. The production did slow down, but at the expense of, we thought we just did not want to have to see this happen again. No one did. Next slide, please. So a couple things that happened. We had some folks ask us, well, why don't you just stop and regroup? There is a very schedule-driven project. This is a very schedule-driven project. This water line needs to be replaced and in service. In the next month or so, we're going to see our water demand increase. In the summer, we use about three times the amount of water as we do in the winter. And we need our facilities in place. So while this water line is not in service, there's 4 water supply wells that cannot bring water that normally serve White Rock and Los Alamos National Laboratory. So stopping wasn't an option. We had a big consequence if scheduling delays could have put us in a real bad situation in a month or so. We did find a way of avoiding trenching along the fiber optic line by changing to a trenchless means of installation. We did have a segment of the project that had a smaller pipe than the existing that's in place. So we were able to sleeve it within the existing. So that instead of trenching continuously, we opened up small holes every 300-400 feet and inserted a pipe. So that was good collaboration between the, our staff, the design team and the contractor. We came up with that. And then, the other thing that really restricted us, we have an existing water line. The fiber optic line was out there and we had to snake this new water line within a 25-foot easement. It absolutely has to be within those lines and boundaries. So between the edge of the road, the easement, the fence and the existing utilities, we didn't have the flexibility to really move things over and get out of the way with a new pipeline. So that played into, why we were doing what we're doing and why we had to stay in the location that was so risky. Let's see if there's another slide or.
Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you, James. We'll move on to some more information about the Community Broadband Network Project and the connection to this project as the middle mile, and we'll let Jerry take it away.
Very good. Thank you. And it's a lot of great information, James. And my first point there, it's related to what James was saying, is that the fiber optic line owned by Lumen was not our infrastructure. And so the county is limited to what we can do outside our jurisdiction. What the county can control is that we can work with others, and we are working with others, with the San Ildefonso Pueblo and a local middle mile provider that's been, that we're a part of and been here for some years, is ReadyNet, to address areas where infrastructure improvements might be needed and maybe there's an opportunity to do some work together. What the county cannot control is Lumen's 40-year-old fiber. We can't tell them that they need to replace it or come in and fix it where it can be located better. That's on them, and we have to live with that. Next slide. But the good news is that we can do things about it. We're calling this the middle mile perspective. We use the term middle mile to describe fiber that goes from out of town out to the internet, to Santa Fe and Albuquerque. Last mile being fiber that is close to your home. So those two terms are used a lot of times in the industry. So from the perspective of middle mile, what is being built and installed is there is a second fiber line being worked on right now. And you heard description of putting fiber in the open trench. That's a part of the project. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. That implementation is currently moving forward, and we hope to have it completed and available for use by the end of this calendar year. And the project is San Ildefonso, a partnership that we're a part of, is the San Ildefonso Pueblo, and includes funds from the state broadband office and the county. Key facts here is that the county's not going to own that fiber. The San Ildefonso will own the fiber, and the entire length of this new fiber is 11 miles, and it goes along NM4, leaving White Rock and going all the way over to Powake on 502. The new fiber line will have inside of the conduit that's being placed there, there'll be 140 strands of fiber. There's actually a second conduit for more fiber to be placed later as demand requires it. The county is interested and will have a long-term lease of a portion of that. The 24 strands, or 1/6 of the 144 strands, we will have a long-term lease for county to use however we see fit. And a primary use of it is for the new Community Broadband Network, or you'll hear us call it the CBN, the project that is just beginning. And just a note too is, why are we building fiber to White Rock? Well, because we already have fiber connecting, going between Los Alamos and White Rock. So if we get a new line to White Rock, that helps both communities. And a little more about how will this new fiber line help? The point is that, as you heard me say, we're going to use a portion of that fiber, but the rest of the 144 strands will be made available to others. So others besides us will be able to do an agreement with the owner of the fiber, which is San Ildefonso Pueblo, so that others can buy internet or get backup internet. If they already have services over the Lumen fiber, the solution to outages like we've experienced is to have a backup internet over another path, and a second fiber line will help enable that for, say, even Lumen, Comcast, self-service providers, Lano, Los Alamos Schools, and UNM LA, and of course, private businesses that want to have backup internet could do that. But more specifically, as it relates to the CBN, or the Community Broadband Network, the design that's being done now and being proposed by the vendor Bonfire currently includes a plan for resiliency, including 2 redundant internet feeds out of town over middle mile. So we'll be using the new San Ildefonso Pueblo fiber line, and we'll be using as a second feed the existing Lumen line. And the new line has some limitations from our point of view as a county. Our role is to try to help enable and facilitate. We can't make things happen, meaning we can't make, say, for example, Comcast, who's a major internet provider, we can't make them have redundant line. So that's up to them to do that. The point there I'm making is other service providers like cell phone towers too will have to take action to, once this new fiber line is available, to set up backup internet on their own. The county will be not a part of that process, and we'll encourage it, but we won't be a part of the process once that second fiber line comes online and is available for services. And this new line, of course, is just one major piece of the puzzle. It's only 11 miles long, but it is a critical piece that will help enable a lot of redundancy to happen for services coming in and out of the county. And the Pueblo themselves are just going to provide internet connectivity. I'm sorry, fiber connectivity. They won't be the actual internet provider over that line, but the line will allow connectivity out of the community and beyond into Santa Fe and beyond where internet service providers can be connected to. Thought it was important to talk about if future outages happen between now and the time that entities are able to get onto the new fiber line. So more short term, what are we doing to improve what we currently have? A primary goal would be to build up the existing Los Alamos County public wireless. So the public wireless that you may have seen in a few places offered around the county uses a wireless point to point to get off of the hill and down and connected. The current connection is to Powake, and that does not use Lumen fiber. So it was up during the outage, and if there was another fiber outage, this service would be up and able to be used by the public. The first point there is that we are looking into upgrading the equipment that provides that point-to-point wireless link that we would all use if we got onto the public wireless, that it can be upgraded from the current 1 gigabit bandwidth to a higher speed at or near 10 gigabits link. And that would provide a better experience, allow more people to get on. And the second point is, can we make that Wi-Fi show up in more places or expand the footprint in more locations in Los Alamos and White Rock? And that's a thing that we're looking into with IT and to make more public wireless spots be available. And then we would publish a map of those Wi-Fi sites. And then one opportunity for enhancement that was done during COVID at a lot around the state was to consider adding an outdoor access point and put it on the wall of the two libraries so that the parking lots would have a strong signal if you were wanting to get Wi-Fi after hours, after the library was closed. But a more long-term solution to the problem is related to the CBN, or the Community Broadband Network Project, that I've talked about. And some key facts, just in case you're not familiar with the status of that project, is in November, County Council approved a contract with the vendor Bonfire to design, build the fiber network with the goal of providing internet service with redundancy to Los Alamos County homes and businesses. So it will be a county-owned network, and Bonfire will provide design and build, and then After it's built, they will operate the network following completion. So redundancy from day one is a part of the network design and providing backup internet source, therefore preventing service interruptions. So as I said earlier, there'll be two fiber lines available, and that's what the design is taking advantage of, is having a failover so that if one of the fiber lines, if the lumen line was cut, it would automatically fail over in just milliseconds faster than you would even notice that it would fail over to the other service, to the other fiber line, and you would notice an outage. So that's the design, and county council will have a chance to see that design pretty soon, and we'll move forward on that project. The tentative plan is to have that the first customers up on the CBN by the end of this year. And the end of the project, when we will have passed by every resident's home and business, is certainly by 2030, we should have that completed.
All right, thank you, Jerry. That was a great overview of broadband project. And I'll just add to everybody who's listening that we do have a lot of information on our website, including a Community Broadband Network Project page. You can go into our website and just type in broadband into the search field, and it pops right up and you can get more information about that project. So now we're going to go over to our emergency manager, Beverly Simpson, and she's going to give us more information about the situation of managing an emergency and then preparedness you can do at home.
Thank you. So a little bit of background on what we were able to accomplish or get the messages out during this event. So we utilized Code Red, AM 1610, utilized the media, county website, text alerts, social media to get these notifications out. We also, the county deployed 3 digital boards across the county. Starlink satellite was deployed to Ashley Pond to provide additional public internet access. And then obviously with the coordination between public utilities, OEM, Public Works, County Manager's Office, and Lumen, we all worked hand in hand to get messages out to the general public and to the businesses and, to our county members. The key issues we identified, I want to state that this was, an isolated incident, but we did confirm that there was outdated fiber infrastructure, as you've already heard from James earlier. Los Alamos County, for county business, has a microwave backups network, but that failed due to some firewall configurations. We did learn that AM 1610 was not broadcasting in White Rock. Code Red was ineffective due to the loss of signal for networks. If you were outside of the county or had a different cell phone carrier, you did receive those messages. If you went off the hill, you did receive the messages. But obviously with that isolated incident, we weren't as effective as we had thought we would be in getting messages deployed out to our residents and businesses. It did highlight the resilience of our community on the communication methods and number of individuals, residents, businesses, and LAMC were impacted by this outage. Next slide, please. Thank you. So what the county's doing in response to this, and this includes the entire county and emergency management. What we can do is enhance infrastructure detection. You heard about that with the utilities, what they have done, what they did with the project to ensure that fiber wasn't cut again. Our IM department's working on testing and fixing that microwave backup system. They'll be testing that regularly to ensure that we do have coverage, as will emergency management with our mobile connectivity trailer. We do have a small system. It can handle 42 cell phones. We were deploying that to dispatch. we had some issues with the satellite link up. So we are testing that regularly in addition to the microwave backup system. And we're expanding AM 1610 coverage to include White Rock. That system is down. It is at Chamisa Elementary. We're in the process of purchasing a new system, and we'll be housing that at White Rock Fire Station 3. We're exploring alternative communication tools, and we continue to launch public awareness campaigns on preparedness to include communication preparedness. Moving forward, we have several county departments have specific follow-ups based on these incidents. They were identified in our after action report. That's in draft routing for the departments to take a look at their follow-up actions. Infrastructure improvements and communication strategy updates are underway. We're looking at satellite internet and other resilient technologies being evaluated. As I mentioned, some of individuals on their private phones had alternate cell carrier that were not affected by this outage. And we did see that the 911 calls coming out from outside of the county did go through as normal. They did identify some issues within the county with our cell phone carriers with the Lumen outage. Next slide. So what you can do to prepare for any disaster, we're focused on the communication outage right now, but this is true in any disaster event as we're coming up to potentially an early fire season. Please sign up for code red alerts. You'll see a QR code at the end of this briefing where you can sign up for code red alerts. You could also text the number 99411 on your cell phone, and that'll take you directly to a sign up link for Los Alamos County code red alerts. Tune into AM 1610, keep a battery powered or hand cranked radio at your home. You also can tune in on your AM radio in your vehicle. But if you have a battery powered or hand cranked radio, please test that regularly to ensure it works. Don't wait till the event is happening to test it. Stay informed before outages happen. Follow Los Alamos County on social media, sign up for the alerts, review emergency procedures. We have a number of emergency procedures and checklists on our emergency management county webpage. So look at those and download those ahead of time. And as you know, as we state, awareness ahead of time gives you a better shot of staying calm and responsive during these disruptions. And we learned with the COVID event, coordinate with your neighbors and share information. We do have a number of homebound individuals or access and functional needs individuals that be a good neighbor and check on those individuals. If you are deploying out, leaving your home, make sure your family knows where you're going to be. Schedule those regular check-ins and then have a designated check-in point and let your family know this. What you can do to prepare additional items are create redundancies. Consider keeping a landline, not a VoIP protocol. What the dispatch center did recognize was those individuals with landlines, which comprised 20% of the 911 calls to the dispatch center here in Los Alamos, were made on landlines, and landlines did work, and they often do work when cellular service does not. Print a list of your key contacts in case your phone dies or you lose service. I know in the past we did memorize phone numbers, but with our cell phones, it's just easy to store that information and not know those numbers by heart anymore. I'm guilty of that myself. Use different cell carriers. This may not be feasible in some instances, but as mentioned previously, we did see that certain cell carriers worked and some did not in Los Alamos after that fiber was cut. Consider satellite-based options. Look at satellite phones, your internet, for that redundancy, especially if you run a business, rely on telehealth or live in a remote area. Make a backup action plan. Know where to go for internet. We talked about go to a county-owned facility that may have public wireless. We did see a number of residents at different locations throughout the community where they were able to access the public wireless at those access points. Have an out-of-town backup plan. Identify locations outside of Los Alamos County where you can temporarily relocate or get online access if needed. As soon as individuals left Los Alamos County, down in Milwaukee, Santa Fe, internet cell phones did work. As I mentioned, this was an isolated incident. We discussed a few things going through these actions, your preparedness actions that you can take, but prepare an outage kit. This could be part of your 72-hour disaster kit or a standalone kit for communications outages. And as you can see, the portable charger or a power bank for your vehicles, and if you have to relocate somewhere. Emergency radio, flashlight, your printed contact list, and some basic supplies if you need to relocate for more than a day. And final thoughts. Preparedness isn't just about having the right gear, it's about having the right mindset. We did see with this communications outage that disruptions to our cell phone service and internet can impact our abilities to receive emergency alerts. When information becomes harder to access, stress levels go up. So if we're able to pre-plan, gather these items, have a plan of attack in the event that should we lose our communications abilities in the future, that you've taken these steps to be able to get the information you need, contact the people you need, and to do business if you're a business owner. The more we plan, the better off you'll be, and also our community will be. And yeah, stay connected, stay informed, sign up for the alerts, take a look at the website, look at social media, and take charge of your personal resilience.
All right, so we do have a couple questions, and so I'm gonna go ahead and open those. Thank you, Bev and Jerry and James for your information. We have a couple questions here. First one is, where does the Lumen line cross the Rio Grande River?
All right, so it does cross just north of White Rock. So it's on the White Rock side of the stretch of road there.
Okay, and then there's also a question, where does the Lumen line reach NM4?
It, right about as you leave White Rock, and there's a bend in the road, a big bend that goes north. It's in that proximity.
Okay, and then we're gonna ask just a couple more here. These are some of our frequently asked questions, and so we want to make sure to get these out there just to add a little bit more information. So first of all, how can we continue taking payments if internet and credit card systems are down?
I can
You wanna take that?
Sure, I can take that. We recommend going the old school route of paper, have a different point of sale ability to take those credit cards or take cash payment. We did, I failed to mention as far as your preparedness, we did see with the communications outage, some of the ATMs were down and some of the banks also were limiting the amount of cash individuals could take out of their accounts. So a good tactic to take is to have some cash on hand also. So that when you go to these businesses, if they're just doing cash payments, that you're able to get what you need in the times of these communication outages.
Okay, and then we have another question about what are my options to secure more reliable internet? So,
I'll jump in and try to give an answer to that. I have a little personal bias that we're gonna address a lot of this with having a second fiber line. That's why there's so much effort and money being spent on that. The solutions, low Earth orbit satellite seems to be a pretty solid backup solution, or if you're really remote, that's a great solution. The product that we're familiar with now is Starlink, and there may be other not low Earth orbit, but the satellite providers may be a reasonable backup. I think a good strategy is to, if you need to have update, if you need to be connected, go to, find a home to go to a family that lives in New Mexico that you can go stay with. That's what we do during other type outages or emergencies where we're not able to have water or electricity. We go find somewhere else to stay. That answer the question?
yeah, I think.
Anybody else weigh in?
Anybody have any additions?
No.
Okay, great, thank you. We do have a question in the chat, so I'm gonna pop that open first here. We've got about 5 minutes. So I don't see network outage as an alert type in Code Red. How do I sign up to receive such a notification?
So Code Red, the county has made the determination that we will use Code Red in true its emergencies. So when you go to sign up on the Code Red app or online, it says emergency or general alerts. Please click the emergency alerts. We have not in the past sent out any general alerts. We're using Code Red in true emergencies.
Okay, great, thank you, Bev. We were seeing, looks like we've got another question up here. I apologize to those who, the captions were hidden underneath my Q&A, moving that right now. Okay, apparently everybody sees it differently, so maybe I'm not hiding that from you. There's another questions here. Oh, no, we got that question. So then we have, Greg, I see you're raising your hand. I'm trying to let you in here. We're trying to find it. There you are. Can you unmute, Greg?
Can
And then
you
can
hear me
type.
now?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, I apologize. Might have covered this already. I kind of had a brain fart as far as the meeting start time. More used to meetings starting at 6 and 5:30. Apparently, during the last outage, the county Wi-Fi in the lobby areas was working, and I guess the county's still using CenturyLink. So I take it that CenturyLink was not on the particular fiber optic lines that got cut. Is that correct?
Great question, Greg. We'll go ahead and I think that Jared, you want to take that, or Dave? I actually know the answer as well, so.
Go ahead.
depending on- Yeah, so you can't see me and I apologize, but Greg, our county facilities are through ReadyNet. And
The public
the
one.
public Wi-Fi is through ReadyNet, and ReadyNet was operational. And so all of the public Wi-Fi connections across the community in county facilities were working. Although
CenturyLink was down.
CenturyLink was down because CenturyLink is part of Lumen. Anybody
Okay,
have anything to add?
thank you very kindly.
Thank you, Greg. Okay, so now I had another question. Go ahead. Yes, Beth.
Just- I wanted to point out too, if this had been, if we were talking a disaster, if we're talking about a fire in Los Alamos County and we have a communications outage, we have state and federal resources that would have been up here. We also have Verizon, AT&T that have their mobile emergency units and mobile towers and those cell on wheels that would deploy to an area that we're able to utilize all their resources. So I just wanted to point out for a true disaster, an emergency, we would have additional resources in our county that would be available to us.
Thank you, Bev. I appreciate that. That was actually my next question. So you
Read your
answered
mind.
it for me. Thank you. And one more question, and then we're going to be out of time here. We'll get you to the next slide. Oh, Greg, it looks like you have one more question. Let me go ahead and all right, you should be able to speak now. Hold on, we're unmuting you.
Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
there you go. Go ahead. Yep, we got you.
So, you mentioned, Verizon and AT&T, so T-Mobile would not have, portable towers in the case of an emergency, or T-Mobile would also?
So I have only worked with Verizon and AT&T so far. So I don't want to misspeak and say that T-Mobile would not, but I can research that for you. But Verizon and AT&T have obviously being very large carriers, have resources available to emergency managers and jurisdictions in the event of a disaster.
Okay, and then if maybe you could also follow up with Verizon and AT&T, would only regular cellular customers be able to utilize those resources, or would people that are on like a pay-as-you-go or one of the other types of non-regular cellular plans, would, if Verizon and AT&T, if those people would still be able to access their networks in an emergency?
Right, my understanding is that if it's a pay-as-you-go, any of those different plans that you're able to, that the signals bounce off the towers. So I'll verify, but it is my understanding that yes, those would still work also. You don't, it's an emergency event. They're not going to limit it to just the individuals that have that plan with that company.
Okay, appreciate it. I will put my email address in the chat so you can get back to me.
Thank you, sir.
Leslie, I would add, in that instance where these emergency mobile units come from the wireless providers, the expectation should be what's offered will be very limited bandwidth for each user, because it's going to be in less than a full implementation mode.
All right, thank you, Jerry, for that. And we do have one more question. This isn't gonna have to be our last question this evening, but Charlie has a question here. You should be able to unmute and ask your question, Charlie.
Okay, I think I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, I have a whole string of questions, but I'll keep it short. I looked into the law for the one call law, and I was wondering who the engineer of record is for this project. If I heard you correctly, it's a county project. There's got to be a county engineer in charge of that. And then it gives that engineer a lot of duties regarding searching out utility lines. And I don't understand. You said that the county had no responsibility, and I would like to dispute that. I think that the county has a lot of responsibility here. If I heard you correctly, you said that the contractor broke the line the first time when he was backfilling. Is that correct?
Charlie, this is James Allerid. I'm gonna get to your first question first. So the engineer of record is Sauter Miller and Associates. And during the design process, they called in a wide area locate to coordinate all the utilities that are in the corridor, the limits of the project, to coordinate that locate. And so all the utilities came out, but a good segment of the alignment of our project, Lumen never did locate. And so they heard New Mexico excavation law, they followed the law, they did their due diligence to show the existing utilities. But if they're not identified, there's no way to know they're there. And
I guess I would wonder, probably everybody knew was there. It just, the fact that, I don't know, it looks, well, and if you identified it and then your contractor broke it on the first go round, obviously you knew it was there. So is this a contractor's responsibility to pay for the damage to that he's done?
yes, Charlie, so yeah, during construction, it was located. And that's when a lot of the segment, a lot of the alignment, the contractor and us, we became aware, okay, we have fiber here. But you're correct, in the instance where it was damaged by the contractor, when it had been correctly located, the responsibilities for damages typically, usually would fall on them. In the event where it was mislocated, the responsibilities for the damages would fall on the utility.
Okay,
Oh, sorry, Charlie, that's my fault. I accidentally muted you. Go ahead and unmute one more time. I apologize. Doesn't let me unmute you.
okay,
There you go.
yeah. So if it was actually visible and the contractor broke it, and that's your contractor out there working, it would be my opinion that the county does bear some responsibility here. And then I don't understand how that broke the second time. You knew the line was there. Did you have an advanced team locating that underground line? Or how did you proceed? You said you slowed down the activity, which is a good thing. But I don't understand how you got into it the second time.
Yeah, the second time, Charlie, it was located and they painted the ground. And the contractor was digging several feet away from where it was located, which should have been all clear, and it happened to be in that location. So, there, to some degree, you have to, you assume the locates are somewhat, are correct, and you never expect them to be that far off. So just things weren't where they're supposed to be. The locate wire was, the mechanism they used to locate it was not in alignment with the fiber optic.
Thank you, James. Thanks everyone for attending and for your questions this evening. We need to wrap things up. So I just want to let you know what's on the screen here, and we've dropped it into the chat in case you want to just click on it. Is a way for you to go ahead and submit more questions and feedback. That's that first QR code up at the top, or the link up at the top. It comes in through our county DPU portal. So there's some questions you can leave back a variety of topics. Also, the bottom one is for registering for Code Red, and we did drop in the chat that link, as well as in addition to the texting instructions as to what you would text. So if you had, I think we covered everybody's questions tonight. So, but yes, please do submit some more feedback and questions through there if you have any more. And this will be recorded and available. It's recorded, will be available online, and we'll make sure to share it over social media as well if you want to share it with anybody who couldn't attend tonight. We appreciate everybody's time and questions. Thank you to James and Jerry and Beverly for their time. And I hope you all have a good evening. Thank you for attending.
Thank you guys for participating.
Thank you.